got a listener question, and this is from Alvin in Decatur. It says, our buyer's home inspection shows we have structural problems that need to be fixed. We don't want to do anything. How do you get out of it? My question for Alvin is this. How do you know for sure you have structural problems? Because a home inspector is not a structural engineer. Typically, there are some out there who are structural engineers. But really the only person out there, in my opinion, who's qualified to tell you whether or not you have structural issues with a home is a structural engineer. And this reminds me of a story of a family. It was a son, a mother, and his wife, and the husband and wife's son who lived in Decatur, wanted to sell a house. The buyer inspected the home. They came back with 3 issues. Number 1, this house was about 70 years old. They had added on a second floor and added on the back of the house. And on one of the exterior walls, the siding was kind of wavy, almost like it wasn't connected to the home. And then on the main floor and the second floor, there was some settling of the floors around the stairs. And so the buyer's inspector said there were structural issues with the house. The second issue was water was getting into the crawl space, and they didn't want any water to get into the crawl space. And the third issue was that the home had cast iron piping, the black piping like you'd see in homes in the 1930s, 40s. I think they used it all the way through, believe it or not, the 70s or 80s. And so what I said to the sellers is, let's don't assume we have problems. Let's learn more about whether or not we do. So the odds are that those are types of items that other buyers would come through and ask for. So I said, let's hire some experts to understand what's going on. So first, let's hire somebody to come out and inspect and scope the sewer line. And so they paid a whopping $400 to have somebody come out with a camera. And it turned out that a lot of the piping in the crawl space was PVC, plastic. Some of it was cast iron. And as soon as the cast iron pipe went down into the ground, it turned into concrete pipe, which, as I understand it, is way better than cast iron. And they scoped it about 15 or 20 or 30 feet from the house past the first big tree. And the sewer lines were clean as a whistle. And even though they're 70 years old, the plumber said there's absolutely no need to replace them at this time. And I think you would agree that that problem went away when we gave the buyer the scoped photos of the sewer line. Now, the next thing was water coming into the crawl space. Turns out that problem could be solved for, don't quote me on this, I think it was $2,400. Divert a little water away from the house, allow a little bit of it to come in and pump it out with a sump pump. And there was no cost for that estimate. We just got the estimate. And then the third item was the structural issues. Structural engineer came out and said that he thought, and it was a he, that the fact that the siding was not straight and appeared to be bowed was purely cosmetic, and it could be solved by just reattaching the siding to the home. And said that other than just normal settling, that the house appeared to be in great structural shape. So when you have somebody come to the table and you're selling a home and they tell you that something is wrong, please ask yourself specifically, what problem am I dealing with? And in this case, after the seller did a little more investigating, they realized that the problem the buyer was asking them to solve was not actually the problem. So through their additional investigations, and yeah, they spent a little money. They spent $1,000, but they made what could have been $10,000 or $12,000 worth of problems almost go away.